Call me crazy, but can you not watch that all day? I think I certainly can. And you know who's been watching it all day, every day? Our very own Aaron Keller, because he is down in Kentucky and has been in that courtroom. Aaron, welcome. So happy to have you on.
Hey, Jesse, good to see you again. Another downpour coming down as we speak here. This has been plagued by rain for a couple of days straight.
But the hair is still looking good, and I appreciate that, the effort in that. So,
hey, the feeling's mutual.
Well, I'm inside. There's no rain. Now, Aaron, we got to talk about this. We just showed the video of her saying the nose job comment, that she finished him off because she didn't want him to be in pain. Now, yesterday was a day filled with bombshells. I want to start with the forensic evidence. It mostly happened in the afternoon. What did we learn from the forensic evidence, and how does that relate to her self-defense claim?
So the key takeaway from the forensic evidence yesterday morning was the gunshot residue on the victim's shirt. A couple of the bullet holes didn't have any gunshot residue, so they are believed to be distant shots, more than 30 inches. But 3 of the bullet holes, at least that went through the shirt, indicate that the defendant pulled the trigger between 6 and 30 inches away from the victim's shirt. So they call that an intermediate range as far as the distance between the muzzle and the shirt. Okay, keep in mind the shirt may have been a little bit further away than the victim's body. But that was a key takeaway with the forensic evidence yesterday.
And then didn't we also learn that the shot was happening from a downward angle, and it would indicate that maybe he wasn't standing when he first got shot, but he was sitting, which seems to counteract this self-defense claim that he was tossing her all around the room and that he was an imminent threat.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit to make sure that we understand what the argument is here. So her argument is that she was being tossed around like a rag doll, and then in the midst of this, maybe it settled down a little bit, and then he and she were in the vicinity of this table, and that he moved towards the gun. His arm moved towards the gun. She grabbed it first and fired at least 1, if not 2 of the shots. And then once he was down, okay, then she fired the other 4 or possibly even 5 shots. The understanding I have from previous testimony is that it was 2 shots and then 4 shots, and then that equals the 6. So maybe he was sitting down at the table. I think that's been a little bit unclear, but from what we know right now, that could have been the situation. He may have been sitting down. The opening statement from the defense said that his arm started to move towards the gun. So the question is, was the defendant trying to, or excuse me, was the victim trying to grab the gun, and then the defendant got to it sooner? That's one of the, at least that's one of the theories that's being floated about.
Creates an interesting conversation about the self-defense argument, but we got to talk real quickly about another big bombshell that happened. We saw Miss Ohio go into the courtroom, and that's a big deal because she was supposed to go on a date with Ryan the very night that he died. What did we learn from Miss Ohio, Aaron?
Okay, got a great piece up on lawandcrime.com about pretty much everything that Miss Ohio said. Basically, she never met victim Ryan Poston in person. They became friends on Facebook, and then he apparently replied to a comment she made about a movie. And then from that eventually led to direct messaging, and then the direct messaging led to text messaging, and then he kind of asked her out. And she decided to meet up with him at a gas station, apparently, as the place where they were actually going to meet in person. And then from there, they were going to go to like a local bar. She named it. I'm sort of struggling to figure out exactly where it is. It might have been in a more rural location, a little ways outside the city. Not 100% sure. But then they were going to maybe have some drinks, maybe shoot some pool. And they were supposed to meet up at about 9 o'clock. Well, then she pushed it back to 10 or 10:30 because she had actually a family funeral apparently that ran late. And from there, she said she showed up at the gas station, looked around, didn't see him, continued to wait for him for a little while, and then figured he was a no-show. And then later within some close proximity, learned that he had indeed been shot. She knew nothing of Shayna Hubers. We learned that from the witness stand yesterday.
And what we also learned is that Ryan was going to tell Shayna, and maybe he did tell Shayna, that he was going to be going on a date with Miss Ohio. And we don't know what precipitated that event in that condominium, but it's pretty fascinating. We can speculate based upon what he was going to be doing later that night. Aaron, we have to go, but thank you so much, and we can't wait to have you back to report back what's going on in Hubers. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, I'm Jesse Webb.